Yeah, hold on. There we go. Hello. Well, here we are. Not exactly the video I had imagined. If you see me looking over here, I'm making sure that everything is looking and sounding right, and it looks like everything is in order. So, welcome back to .NET Phillies. There's a decent amount to get into. A lot of this is going to be kind of what is going to become of this channel. I've done a lot of thinking, and stuff's gonna be the same. There's gonna be some different stuff that I'm trying, regarding the status of what's next. But before we do that, the Phillies kind of dookie the bed. They lost in the the NLDS to the New York Mets 3-1. It was just embarrassing from start to finish. It was just a pure and utter embarrassment of everything we feared that this team was. It turned out they were. Not getting the big hit. The pitching, starting-wise, was fantastic. You had the 7 shutout innings from Zach Wheeler, and then the bullpen just kind of sold it. Chris Sanchez was incredible. They obviously won that game, but you had Aaron Nola in New York, and he was good. I mean, he went 6+ innings, 2 runs. You expect to win that game. And even Ranger, he labored through 5 innings, but still gave you 5 innings, no runs. He was incredible. Incredible is bold, but considering what Ranger was and the tightrope that he wound in Game 4, you should have won that ball game. And ultimately, the offense just fell flat. Like I said, everything we feared that this baseball team was, it turned out they were. Pertained to swinging miss, the only guys who came to play were Bryce and Casty. Other than that, Schwarber minus Game 1 was a no-show. Same thing with Trey Turner. Alec Boehm, I'm going to have a big deep dive on Alec Boehm and what's to come of him. Stott, no-show. Rojas, just everybody, just bad from start to bottom. It was just bad. And like I said, we feared the whole season. We looked at it as this is the year. You win the division. You get the first round bye, and everybody was clamoring and begging for the first round bye. Then you just kind of do nothing after that. Game 1, your offense looked like it was going to just steamroll the Mets. You had the leadoff Kyle Schwarber home run, and then that was it. You just fell flat. You got beat by, a hot Mets team, which it happens because the Phillies have been that team the past 2 years to the Atlanta Braves, and like I said, you start hot this year. The best record in baseball the first half of the year. You swept the Dodgers going into the All-Star break, but then after that, they were a 500 ball club. And I got so tired of the excuses from the players. Oh, when the lights came bright, we expected to hit. It just kind of felt like they weren't playing with any fire. It felt like they were playing like they were supposed to be in the World Series, like it was a guarantee. And that pisses me off because, quite truthfully, they might not have another opportunity like this again. You've gone to the playoffs 3 straight years. You've backpedaled mightily. You lose in the World Series in 22, NLCS last year, and the NLDS this year. What, are you not going to make the playoffs next year, if judging by patterns? It's just wildly disappointing. And, the lack of accountability, and I understand that it's so hard as a baseball team to look at one thing and go, that was the problem, but this Phillies team just had one problem. It's the swing and miss, and that is ultimately what their downfall was. It's just bad. It was just bad baseball. And who knew that the bullpen after rest was going to be that awful? I mean, in 4 games, they had 1-2-3 inning by Carlos Estevez in Game 2. Other than that, it was a rough series. Estevez obviously gave up that grand slam to Lindor in Game 4. Hoffman was terrible. Kerkering was terrible. Strahm was terrible. Ruiz was fine, I guess. We saw a little bit of Colby Allard. It was just bad. It was just, what the hell happened? But I know exactly what happened is they got greedy. They were content with who they were. They weren't playing for anything ultimately down the stretch run of the season. And that's what killed them. It's what killed the Braves the past couple years. It's what's killed other first-round bye teams in the past. And you look at it this year, and 3 of the 4 first-round bye teams made it to the playoffs, and the Phillies being the only one out. The Dodgers are currently playing the Mets in the NLCS, and you have the Guardians and the Yankees, both with first-round byes, both playing in the ALCS right now. Like, it was just bad. It's just bad, and I don't want to use this, and this is why this episode is coming out now, is because I don't want to point the finger and have a knee-jerk reaction to the way this season ended. Because there was so much positivity, but at the same time, there were so many more, or so much more, many more, whatever, for improvement. You look at the deadline, it's in my head right now because I recently watched a Dave Dombrowski and Rob Thompson at the year pressers, so it's kind of fresh in my memory, but Dombrowski was talking about how they looked at the end of the year, the trade deadline, and it kind of makes me upset that they knew the 5th starter spot was a problem. He said that Tyler Phillips at that time was pitching extremely well, which he was, but you knew that wasn't going to last. You knew the injury with Spencer Turnbull. You knew Taijuan was kind of cooked. What was your plan? Like, did you have one? Did you just... he openly admitted that they were banking on one of those things working out for them, and it never did. And I look at that like, never be content if you are a baseball team, especially a caliber of the Phillies, where they are miles in first place. They're by far the best team in baseball at that time. Go out and, I don't care, sell the goddamn farm if it means bringing home a World Series. I trust the guys that they have here to draft and develop well, that you can replenish the farm system. And I understand it's not a strong one to begin with, but it doesn't matter. You go out there, get a Garrett Crochet. And I understand that article came out a couple weeks ago saying that they wanted Andrew Painter. They were not budging about not getting Andrew Painter, so I don't blame them for not doing that. But go out there and get a dude, get a stud. Because I know it's easy to say, ultimately, it didn't really matter because the pitching, starting-wise, was fine. But that 5th starter spot was simply just a loss, a scheduled loss every 5 days. So God forbid if Nola, Sanchez, Suarez, Wheeler has a bad start, you're looking at 2-3 game losing streak maybe, because that 5th starter spot was so awful that it was just a chasm, and I think the team knew that. And I think that wore down on them a little bit. And like I said, I don't want to sit here for however long this is going to go for and point fingers, but, the offense just was simply a no-show. They just were completely just gone. And it just left such a sour taste in my mouth. And the thing is, unfortunately, I'm a realist. I kind of expected this. I was worried about this when we got the bye because we've seen it with the Dodgers yes, we have seen it with Dodgers, but specifically the Braves, where they go in, have this incredible, season. Didn't really have to play hard because they were so far ahead of everybody else, and it ultimately killed them in the playoffs, and that is the exact same thing that happened to the Phillies. They weren't ready. They were unprepared. I don't know what the approach was offensively, because they basically just pitched around Bryce, and Casty played extremely well, but Bohm was a no-show, really the last month plus of the year. Stott was bad. Marsh, also a no-show. JT didn't have a hit. What do you do at that point? Schwarber was still walking, I guess, and Turner was also a no-show. That a lot needs to happen this offseason, and I'm not going to get into it now because I do want to do a deep dive into a lot. about what went wrong, about, what's next for this Phillies team, because you simply cannot run it back for a fourth straight year and expect a different outcome. I think there's going to be a lot of personnel changes, not on the management side, because as Dave Dombrowski came out and said that they're not changing anything when it comes to coaching. Excuse me. Topper got an extension. They're keeping Cotham, which Cotham was the last person that I would fire. And I'm honestly very surprised that Kevin Long is still here. I thought that his lack of changing approaches, the lack of adjustments that he as a coach need to make, and maybe he did all those things and it looked good in practice, but then it just didn't translate. I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know the ins and outs of a hitting coach, but I mean, it seems like if they were going to drop a bomb, he would be the first one to go, but I think they view it more as a personnel issue than they do it as a coaching issue. Because you got to give Kevin Long credit. I mean, Edmundo Sosa has been great with us. Marsh, even. Bohm has taken that next step. Stott, like these young guys coming up. And even with Bryce's relationship with Trey and Bryce and Kyle. A lot of these guys love Kevin Long, and I understand that. But ultimately, this is a business. You cannot get held up with loving these guys and being for these guys and then just not change anything and expect something different to happen. You just simply can't have something like that. And it's I don't know. There's a lot I want to say, and this is going to kind of transition to my next point, which is what's next for this. I don't know how long this episode's going to be. I kind of just want to say what I want to say, and kind of go from there. Obviously, this season was very different for me. There was a lot of personal things that happened in my life that has, impacted this. Truthfully, I'm all about full disclosure. I never want to stray away and not say anything, especially when it comes to this, because ultimately I want this to be a thing. But this year was a lot different. Like I said, there was a lot that changed in my life. There was a lot that happened. And I found it affecting this, which is why the episodes were kind of sparse. It was, became more of a chore to do this rather than me enjoying it and talking about the Phillies and getting into stuff. And I went away from a lot. And that's something that I'm going to get better at going into next year. I don't know if every Wednesday is going to continue to be the schedule moving forward into next season. I really don't. We're just going to kind of play by ear at that point. But during the off season, and I've kind of touched on it a little bit in the last couple episodes, that I want to try some different things. If it's not just me talking, not podcast or long editorials or whatever, like I kind of want to get more into baseball. Obviously, when news breaks about the Phillies, I'm going to be covering it. That is the number one thing that I'm going to be doing during the off season, because the off season is always a crapshoot. You get a lot of news, and then some lighter months kind of got to dig for some content. So the baseball off season is always a fun time. But I'm going to try to put together some different things. Something I want to do is kind of a player profile on every player this year. Not full videos like this, but little videos kind of going over what this player did well, what this player didn't, how they improved, what was their kind of a deep dive into each individual player and what they project for next year. That's an idea that I'd really like to do. And a lot of stuff, maybe a full video breakdown of what went wrong with this Phillies team and what needs to change. In terms of moving forward in the offseason, my full offseason podcast is going to come out at some point a little bit down the line. I wanted to get this out because I wanted to kind of voice my thoughts and just get it out there. just to know that, hey, I ain't dead. This channel is still alive. There's just a lot of moving parts here. I have another podcast that I started with John, and that's going really well, and we've both really enjoyed doing that so far. And, ultimately it comes back to this. That's a video idea. I'm going to be doing other stuff with other people. I'm going to try to get some interviews, maybe with former players, maybe the Phillies backup catcher, maybe the friends I've had on here. There's a lot that I kind of want to do this off season that I haven't done. Some personal stuff. I mentioned that maybe I'll do a ranking list of like Walking Dead seasons, because everybody knows Walking Dead is my favorite show ever. Maybe zombies maps. The new Call of Duty's coming out, and I've kind of talked about that. That I kind of want to talk about that. Just kind of more personal to me rather than just baseball. But just different things that I'm going to be trying out. And just look out for that during this off season. And like I said, in terms of what's next, I don't know. I say I don't know, but I do. It's going to be this next year. Don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. There's a lot that I want to improve on. Number one is content in terms of me talking. I felt this year that I lacked kind of breaking down stuff more in depth, and that kind of comes with only doing one episode a week, and it's kind of almost counterintuitive that I went to one episode a week to give you more content, and truthfully I lacked in that. I got lazy, and I regret it, but that's something I'm just going to improve on next year. I want to have a lot fuller episodes, more in depth, more stuff, bit by bit, kind of like I did in seasons 1 and 2, that I lacked this year, truthfully, and that's something that I need to work on, and I'm going to for this season. In terms of kind of to look back, like I said, a lot's changed for me in my life, for better, for worse, and I'm still here. I'm still going to be making this. I still enjoy doing this. It's something that I look forward to doing still. When I started this, three seasons 2 years ago, 2 years ago and some change, I didn't know what it would become, but I'm so grateful for another season in the books. I wish it ended a different way, but I'm just so grateful to everybody. Even if you listened for 5 seconds, I'm grateful for you. Even if you listened for the whole time and been with me this whole time, if you've been on the show, if you've recommended it to somebody, sent it to anybody, I appreciate you and everything that, it means a lot to me, because it means that I don't care if I'm reaching 5 people or 100 people. If people care about my baseball opinion, then I'd be happy to give it to them. And for that, I'm forever grateful and blessed to have this opportunity and this platform. And I just really appreciate it. And enough sappiness now. But yeah, that's kind of all I got. It's not the grandiose episode that I think people were expecting, but that's coming later. Like I said, I kind of want to do a full breakdown of what went wrong, more in depth, rather than just trying to yell at you and yell at the screen. I want to have evidence that this is what went wrong and this is what I think went wrong. So that's what I'm going to be doing, the research. So look out for that. The episodes from here on out are going to be sparse, truthfully. It's not going to be every week. When there's stuff that happens, obviously I will report on it, but other than that, it's just kind of going to be like regular off season again. I'll make videos here and there. Hopefully I get some of those video essays out. Not hopefully, like I will, I just don't know when. And then we'll go from there. But yeah, this is it. This is the end of season 3 as we know it. I'm very grateful for everybody that's been along this ride for another year. And thank you for sticking with me for another season. Here's to many, many more. But that's going to do it for me here, guys. If you like what you watched, like what you saw, feel free to like and subscribe and follow all the socials down there below at .net Phillies. And like I mentioned, I have a football podcast. It is the 52 Reasons podcast that you can check out on YouTube. Like I said, myself and John do it. It comes out every Tuesday night, so look out for that. We just had a really good episode yesterday talking about the Eagles' win over the Browns. So if that's something that interests you, go ahead and check that out at 52 Reasons Pod on all socials and on YouTube. So thank you guys again so much for watching, and I will see you guys very, very soon. I want to be